What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Lifted, Lowered, and Confused podcast. Today, we're gonna do a top 10 list for you, right? Things to look for and or to avoid, I would say, when you're hunting for your next project car, right? We've all been there. We've all been hunting for a project car, and it's especially now with marketplace. There's a lot of venues or avenues to pursue to find what you want to build once you decide on what you want to build, no matter the category, whether it be a mini truck or a lowrider or an import or a hot rod, whatever.
And plenty of people who think their vehicles are gold.
Right.
Ooh.
Right. So I guess the first thing that you have to come to grips with is your budget versus your reality, right? What do you want to build? What can you afford to build? And how can you merge those together, right? So I'd say no matter what you're building, if you're looking for something that runs, for example, I'd say the number one thing you probably got to look for is if you're planning on keeping that drivetrain, how's it run? Check all your fluids, right? Does it smoke when it's running? What color is that smoke if it does smoke? You know, that's probably the number one thing I'd say if you're looking for something that runs. You know, I've looked for stuff, you know, and even like this town car that I bought, for example. Perfect example. Doesn't really smoke.
Well, it's not able to smoke when it has no oil in the.
Yeah, you can.
Right, but it has
I got this.
But it has a mystery oil. Well, that's the thing. It doesn't leave any drips.
Because there's nothing left to drip.
Never dripped it all out. Never smoked it out. Never. I don't know. So it's obviously burning oil so slow that I constantly have to add oil.
How'd you know you had to add oil
It's
today?
a lot of vehicles, though.
Well, when upon crank today, it gave the little
You didn't
little
use,
valve tickety
You didn't
tack.
actually
this
check.
is.
It's the
Little tick tick tick, little valve tickety tack.
Weird. It's
Little
almost like
tickety-tack.
it hasn't been checked in a while.
There's a thing.
You can think what you want, but I know my routine. I check the oil every time I get gas. Every week.
And it went 1 week with in hash marks,
And then
full,
to-
and then to ticket.
Well, it didn't take long for it to go from hash marks to ticky ticky because there was still oil on the stick. It was just below the hash marks.
That's not. There's the problem right there.
When I checked it last week, it was well in the hash marks. It was fine.
So
oil level was fine last week.
When was the last time you put oil in it prior to the ticky tick today?
2 weeks ago.
Can't do the ticky tick.
How much was lost in the first 13 days? Like, how did we have such an extreme loss
That's the thing. It's very inconsistent. So 2 weeks ago when I put oil in it, it was from the top of the hash marks to right at the bottom of the hash marks. But it was still within the hash marks. So I added a little bit of oil. I added almost a quart, I would say. And it was fine. And then last week I checked it, and it was fine.
I think you need to just get on a more regular pattern of checking it without filling gas.
More regular than once a week.
Yeah.
Every day.
You've just proven
When
that
you
it needs
go
it.
home,
So
check
at least
it.
every 3 days.
You do live in
Every
the
3
hood.
trips.
You may have an oil thief.
Maybe.
Every-
you never
possible.
know.
Every
You
3
never know.
trips.
Somebody's
I
out there
would be checking
siphoning a
Trent would know.
quart of oil.
Oh, is this 520? Is that Lucas? Delicious.
So oil, the lifeblood.
So to your point, when I was searching for my project, I actually passed on a Grand Marquis because it wouldn't start.
Was it doing
Right.
the ticky ticky?
It's got to start.
It didn't even get that far, bro. No, eventually it did. The guy was like, "Oh, it's great. It runs great." And he hits it, and that thing just cranked for like 20 seconds. And then it finally fired up.
Look at you, man.
It's
almost there. It's almost there. Hold on.
Yeah.
So I was like, "I'll let you know."
I'm gonna let you go, boo.
So you got to, you
Just
got
be
to,
real.
you got to do your due diligence as far as how it's running. I don't know if you guys have another thing. Let's see. I got
gotta guess.
I
I
made
know what
I made a
number
little
2
bit
is.
of a list.
Okay.
Rust.
So I don't have them in any particular order, but yeah, rust. So
Oh my God, that
Look
is,
for rust. Is it a northern car? Is
Thankfully,
it
we were blessed here in Florida. We don't have a lot of rust damage unless
Right.
somebody brings something down from
right? Or if
north
they
of Tennessee.
live by the beach, the salty air can have that effect. But look for rust, man. Look for rust. Check the Carfaxes.
However,
if
Florida
you
with the humidity, I've seen cars sweat.
yeah.
so
Listen,
you
if-
went with me to get mine, and that was
Yeah.
a New York car,
yeah.
but it was immediately came down from New York, and it was like rust free. So I
Yeah.
lucked out, except for the rust
Under the top.
The top.
The moisture. If you have a top, make sure you get all
Garbage.
the water out of there. I'd say if you have the ability to check a Carfax, check a Carfax. They'll tell you where the car's from. It'll tell you at least maintenance records as far as the past 10 years.
Everything.
Reported maintenance.
Or as best,
reported.
better than nothing.
And most places report now, But and it'll tell you accidents, a lot of which leads me to another thing you want to check for. Check for prior repairs. Prior repairs can be good, and it's not a big issue, or they can be terrible. You never know exactly what lies beneath a repair. Somebody could, instead of pulling a dent, just slap it full of filler.
Old cave and pave.
Yeah, I mean that's not good. So check your repairs. Check for paint lines. I don't know if anybody knows how to check for paint lines. Across every panel, on any seam, from inside the doors, you'll be able to feel a hard little tape line. Promise you.
Maybe to not interject, but elaborate on that. Bring a magnet.
Bring a magnet.
Bring a fridge magnet.
Yeah.
That's a good way to test. Start if it's an older car. Start at your lower quarters, your rockers. Mm-hmm. There's your butter zones right there. You can go ahead and start right there.
Yeah.
And if you're getting good adhesion as far as magnetization, you're probably doing good. Yeah, I said butter zone. The buttery cookie. So that's something you want to bring as a tool if you're shopping for an older car.
Yeah. 100%.
Good trick.
Are we kind of going person to person, or are we all? Are
We
just
can
kind of interjecting?
absolutely no, absolutely.
Okay.
If you've got something, by all means.
I've always, my rule of thumb is check the interior. Rule of thumb:
Yep.
if the person has taken care of the interior, more than likely they've taken care of the entire car.
That's a good point.
If you
Never
get
thought of
in
that.
and the interior is absolutely trashed, then obviously that person has
Good indication you're. in
that
trouble.
he doesn't care about anything, and more than likely has not maintained the vehicle. So my rule of thumb is if the interior is good, we're probably gonna have a pretty good jump off point. So that's one of the first things I look at.
I can
Right.
agree with that.
I never actually thought of that. It's not bad. And I do interior. I never thought of that.
yeah. While you're in there, check for water lines. See if there's been any kind of water intrusion in there, because that's bad news right there. If it's been in a flood, if there's water,
Oh, the wires are toast.
yeah, wires are toast, modules are toast. If it's a newer car and it has any kind of those, computers or anything like that. Not only that, but then you got mold issues.
While we're on interior, depending on location of vehicle, run a drug dog around it.
Been there, done that with the Impala.
Run a drug dog around her.
So when I first got the Impala down, I was tinkering with it.
Oh God, I
And
remember this.
took the back seat out. And as I took the back seat out, about 25 dryer sheets popped out. For those that don't know,
Interesting.
people put dryer sheets in there to try to steer the dog away from the drugs, so they smell the dryer sheet. So as soon as I pulled the back seat out and they popped out, one of my buddies works K9. I was like, "Hey man, what you doing?" When I have like 10-minute training, he's like, "What's up?" I said, "I need your dog to come run through with this Impala real quick." So he came over and ran the dog in the car, through the car.
Did it hit?
Nope, didn't hit. So
Kind of shocked.
we were good.
Yeah.
Kinda
So
shocked.
was I. So was I.
Yeah. Another thing, and I had experience with this, and you were there. Always check the VINs versus your titles.
Oh yeah, Jesus.
Always. I remember Dean came with me one time when I was hunting for a project
How
car.
far do we drive for that?
Oh, it was probably 2.5 hours. A little just north of Orlando, I think.
What an idiot.
This guy had a 70s La Sabre for sale. Big wheels. I was going to
For
save
those
it.
that don't know, that's the Venezuelan pronunciation of Le Sabre. Is the El Le Sabre.
La Sabre. So there was a nice, what was it, a 72?
It was a 72, I believe.
72 La Sabre on some big wheels, and I wanted to save it from the donk life and make it a sweet lowrider because you don't see them and it's different. and we
Pretty car. I mean,
was-
listen,
it was
pretty
Buicks
car.
do make some pretty nice lowriders.
They do.
That's
They
all I'm
do.
saying.
It was a pretty car. It had just a couple.
say?
Pipe down over there, damn it.
What did you say?
I said Buicks make some pretty nice lowriders.
They do, especially Roadmasters. So it was one of those cars where it had a couple things, a couple little issues, but
Like anything.
like I said before, budget versus reality. It's something that we could have handled.
A 72, you expect that. So it's all
The rest
good.
of it seemed to run good. It everything it checked pretty much all the boxes.
It literally all checked out except for the
Yeah,
seller.
we agreed to a price. We went to do the title work and pay the man, and he pulls out a title for a Ford freaking Ranger.
Ford Ranger.
Ford Ranger. So immediately, I pulled the wrong one, my bad, blah, blah, blah. A million excuses on why it's not a La Sabre title. Needless to say, we
didn't wait around for him to go get another title.
No,
Because he wasn't 2 minutes up the road either.
No. So we unfortunately left empty-handed that
He
day.
threw the whole sale because of his stupidity.
Yeah.
So, or at least not stupidity, but just not being properly prepared.
Right. And I don't know.
Or being shady.
Right, and it's the thing, and we don't know this guy from Adam. We don't know the legitimacy of it.
All right.
Wow.
Big words.
one, huh?
That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
God almighty.
So
Dum, 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 dum.
right, so we left it at that, and
800.
and as Bobby Boucher once said, the switch continued, which led into the glass house.
So I think everybody has.
So it's about 5 years ago when this happened. They went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
this was easily
Yep.
that because he was actually literally showing me the glass house on his phone on the way back. He's like,
Yeah.
this guy, Ricky's painter, he's selling, X, Y, and Z, and he told me all about it. And I looked at it, I was like, that looks cool, man. I like it. That's.
Yeah.
Then I started
Which-
looking up pictures of glass houses laid out. And I was
Had
like,
you
oh,
only
yeah.
known then.
Right. Which and listen, and that's a perfect segue to the next thing I have on my list here.
Oh, please share.
Be weary of cars for sale at shops. Do your due diligence.
Fortunately, you can't do a background check on an individual necessarily, but
Right.
the
But I-
shop, absolutely.
But ask the questions. Why is it for sale at a shop? Who owned it at the shop? 9 times out of 10, there's a reason why it's for sale. And then whether you think it's at a shop and they decide they want to make a deal on the car and some work and all that stuff, do your due diligence.
yeah.
I mean, I have.
Even getting a car done at a shop, do your due diligence. That was one of my last biggest
That's
jobs.
true. That's very true. That's very
That
true.
was done. So
Because you never know, and it's tough.
you're withholding so much.
I
right now.
really
see
am.
it.
I really am. I really am.
I see another whole episode in your mind right now. So let's just put a pin in that.
Yeah, let's
on what
let's
you,
put a
where
pin.
you
Let's
stop
put a pin
right
in
there.
that.
That's a good.
But
that's,
be weary.
All right,
But
you'll
be
find this
weary.
funny.
But
There's
be
your-
weary
yeah.
of cars that are for sale at shops and why they're for sale at a shop.
This
Leave
ties
that there
into
for now.
this ties into your buying cars at shops. I was this close to buying a Buick Roadmaster.
Oof, nice car.
It was all gold.
Pants are tight.
I would have had cheese balls on it even.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was close. You would have known me as Harold in the Roadmaster.
Herald of the Roadmaster,
Harold Roadmaster Rucker. I love
But it
it.
was at a shop, same thing. I
aka
was like,
Harold,
nah.
formerly known as Roadmaster.
But now I like turtles.
There you go. There you go.
So
Anyways.
when I looked for this Cadillac, now again, I think some of this is not only wise.
When you looked for the Cadillac?
Looked at it.
What was that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't look for it. I didn't look for it. Y'all shoved it down my throat, and then I went and had to go
You're
get
damn
the
right
damn
we
thing.
did.
Doesn't sound
So
like
when I
the
looked
right-
at it, everybody's got their own list of things that they're looking for, and I believe that largely is based around everybody's abilities. So, say you didn't know any of us.
I got an ability to cut a check. This is about what I bring to the table.
So there's case one. Okay. So, like, if you're looking for a car, if it needs X, Y, and Z, let's say X, Y, and Z is paint, needs body work, and needs drivability. All needs to be checked. Now, you're not just buying into a car to get it and work on it. You're buying into a car that you now have to research, if you don't already know, a shop that does acceptable to your standards paint, body, and mechanical. So you're buying into more than just the car and what it needs. You now have to do your due diligence on, if you don't already have those things lined up, the proper shops, the proper avenues to take this to get done right. So I'm going to base my list and hope it helps others as well as y'all off of my abilities. So I do upholstery, I do metal fab, I do some basic drivability stuff. You know, I can replace suspensions and everything. Obviously, I would hope so. Pulling an engine apart is not what I'm going to do. I can pull certain things down. So there's a few things I'm going to look for. When I looked for my Cadillac, I wanted 3 main things that had to be up to a certain level. Ideally, I wanted 0 bodywork, meaning no rust and no dents. And I mean, like, a ding here and there is fine, but I mean like substantial, like a panel collapsed, a door needs to be replaced. I didn't want that. Check 1. That was fantastic. The second thing was the frame. I almost, and not 100%, but 90% of the time I will refuse buying a car that's already cut. Because 9 times out of 10, I don't like how it's been cut, and I see every flaw in it, and I'm going to redo it anyway. So beyond that, I don't want rust, and I don't mean surface. I mean like rust, rot, cancer, damage, accident, you know, if the frame's twisted, stuff like that. So I need body, I need frame, and the engine, it doesn't need to run perfect, but it needs to be, well, the block cracked and it's leaking fluid. That's a no-go for me. I need a fairly solid engine that can be tuned up. So those are the 3 things that I'm like, those are the 3 staples that I'm looking for.
Very
Paint,
reasonable.
that's cosmetic, could care less. Interior, yes, I do it. But even if I didn't, it's cosmetic. I can handle that. As long as it's got seats in it, you know what I mean? I can look past certain things.
Yeah.
When you're shopping for an older car, you have to be able to take a few things on the chin.
That's it.
'Cause mine's 30 years old. I got lucky. The paint is a 7 out of 10, roughly. The body, 8.5 out of 10 to 9 out of 10. I mean, it's fantastic.
That's a good body.
Let's say a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
The frame, virgin, and no rust on it. Surface, tinge. That's all. Like any 30-year-old car is going to have. And the motor, knock on wood, it went to my mechanic. Everything was sound. He did a full tune-up on it, stem to stern, and the thing runs like a bat out of hell. So those are the things that I look for, because everything else I can handle, and also I would change anyway. The paint, even if the paint was fantastic, I'm going to switch it up. It's a lowrider. The interior, I'm probably not going to leave it stock. So if it's kind of tired, I also use those things as leverage and advantage to the sell point. Well, the interior's tough. Listen, the paint's flecking all over here. The clear's gone. I use those now as leverage against the seller to get a better deal, even though I don't really care. So that's how I approach it. I approach it getting a good deal, at the same time getting what works for me. So those are the meat and potato for me is always those 3 things: body, frame, and motor. Yeah. Everything else, consumables, like the suspension, the U-joints, the ball joints.
Sure. Yeah,
that's all consumables.
It's all maintenance stuff.
You should be replacing that anyways. I don't care if a drive shaft is going click, click, click. I'm going to be replacing the U-joints, whatnot, etc. throughout the whole suspension.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to what I said: your budget versus your reality. Mm-hmm. What can you afford to fix? What can't you afford to fix? What can you afford to build? What can't you?
And what is your knowledge base?
Right,
and
what does that leave you with? You know, that's
Trent's ability was, hey guys, I got some stuff for you to do.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
And he pulls up, whether it's on a trailer or in the car, with a beep beep.
Well, that's why I use.
Here's some boxes.
But again, that's why you use the buddy system. That's why you use the buddy system. Not everybody knows everything. So
if you have a good clique of people,
that's what I'm saying.
You use those things as leverage too. Like, I got a guy that does this. I got a guy that does that. I'm good.
That's why me and Will went up to get mine. You know, because he knows a lot about cars, and so do I. So both of us tag teaming it together, and you know what to look for.
You did all the stuff on the interweb that I don't even know what to do. You looked up Carfax, history of it.
He logged in. That's what you don't know how to do. Logged in.
He did things that I'm not fluent in, and that just solidified the buy.
Username, password, enter.
That's it. That's it. And then the Carfax will tell you the odometers. Check your odometers. You know, has something been rolled back? Is something not working? Is something?
Right.
Look at Tim.
Those will tell you
Tim's,
those will tell you the hidden things essentially.
Right. Look at Tim's town car. We're assuming it's still a low mileage car, but it was
100%
sold.
for
It was sold and marketed as a 40-something thousand mile 92 town car, and it very well may be as clean as it is. But once he got it and drove it home from Fort Myers, lo and behold, the odometer gear is broken. So
Right.
the odometer is not working. Who knows how long it's not been working?
What's sketchy about the whole thing, or not sketchy, but what's questionable about the whole thing is it is so eerily clean in all the areas that receive average wear and tear.
Yeah.
Case in point, as an upholsterer, I know the key points on a driver's seat that are always going to be busted up and on the door panel. The bolster and the armrest and certain things I already know what to look for. They're not matted down with
No, they're
grease,
solid.
oils from the skin. They're not collapsed, like where they've been sat on a lot, even if they were sat on gentle and it didn't destroy it. But there's going to be compression. It's not there. His looks and feels like
It's a
a
solid
50,000 mile car.
car. Yeah. No, it's a solid car.
So, again, having those links of people like I'm telling you, that's my profession. I'm telling you, that's you're in good hands. Kind of like I don't know the history of it, and you're like, I got you. Let me look some stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice having the Carfax on deck.
Yeah. I think you need to flip your microphone upside down.
Oh,
I think you're upside down, buddy.
check. That's,
that's
way
way
better.
better.
Way better. I was like, man, I didn't put this
Such a
in.
big dummy.
Who did it?
30 up. You supposed to check? You still check it? You pre-check it.
I did this. Check. And I was welding on his amp rack. You know what? I don't need your attitude right now.
That was me sabotaging you, my bad.
He's like, thanks, Dean. Thank you.
This whole time I wanted to tell him, but I'm like, I don't want to interrupt him.
Hold on,
He's
All right,
such
at least
a
he got his
good
headset
groove.
on correctly today.
That's true.
Yeah, that is left side over
job.
here. Left side.
I'm going to go rip that amp rack out right
You gonna rip the what out?
now. Amp rack.
Amp. Just checking.
I hope the next cookie you bite into has a cricket in it.
Cold-blooded.
Cool. Need some protein in my diet.
That's terrible. That's terrible. Why would you put that even on? Such a delicious cookie.
Want to go to our sponsors now?
Crumble Cookie sponsors us. We hungry. Anyway, another thing that I thought of that people should look out for goes kind of along with cars and shops, but flip cars. People who buy cars just to flip them, while because they will take advantage of you because they
You
know
can throw some Lucas in there, make a
That's it.
smoke stop for
They-
a few weeks, and sell
they
it.
know how to get this car good enough for just enough amount of time to get you to buy it and get you out of their hair.
Yep.
So you got to be weary of that. That's
Over
why.
the
and
curb.
That's it. And that's why I say check all. Of
Unfortunately,
your stuff for repairs.
Trenton's paint job
Yeah.
on the Impala wasn't
Yeah.
too long after that. It started showing its truth.
Yeah.
You know? So
Yeah. People.
I did not have it painted. We bought it that way. So,
Yeah.
and
People,
it literally showed up and started cracking the hood, started cracking up. So
yeah. That's
it
why
was
I
just
said
pretty
check-
enough for the
like
picture.
the paint, just I'm out. Goodbye.
Yeah. People who have more than one car for sale, just turn around.
Yeah.
Don't even buy that car because I promise you, there was something wrong with that car. He got it super cheap, probably from an auction.
All I'm saying is not everybody that puts a listing up of moving, don't have room, the typical, moving out of town, moving out of state,
That's true.
don't have time for it, don't have room. Those are key
Yeah.
words, and those are the common phrases in the seller's world.
Yeah.
So, again, as Will says, be wary of that.
Be real weary of that. Just don't even entertain those cars because I promise you.
Or if you know
it's
enough, make sure you do your up and down on it, checking it, really
Bad
checking
news.
it.
Bad news bears with those.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got? Those were my big things that I look for and run away from.
I run away from Hondas.
That's true.
I got another
No
little
offense,
thing on
Peyton.
my
No
list.
What you got?
I run away from Hondas, stands up,
Kinda
packs,
like- kinda like
smacks
that.
the chair in, walks away.
One thing that is a must for me is a domestic label.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, but this goes all into preference, and that's why I said no matter what you're building, whether it's a lowrider or a hot
And
rod
that's
or
all-
an import or a mini truck, whatever it is, all of these things that we're saying apply to anything.
Anything,
Right.
yeah.
You know.
Honestly, Harold, I really thought yours was going to be like local gang affiliates, like
Yeah.
stay, you know,
Yeah, if the Zetas won't
Stay on
steal
the
it, I
right
don't
side
want
of
it.
the tracks.
check out what I just bought. You be showing his mama. Look, come out in the driveway and look. She said, baby, there's nothing out in the driveways. Come on, man.
If the Zetas won't steal it, I don't want it.
Hey, man, I lived in upper class ghetto. Okay.
But
So let's do. Should we do a top 5 on that?
top 5, yes.
Okay. I think let's kind of do like a collaborative vote on what a top 5 should be. I think one of them should be frame. I think frame
100%.
frame is definitely in my top 5 list of, again, encompassing rust and rot, damage from wrecks, and any prior cutting too.
See, it's going to come down to preference, though. Like what you're doing is like.
But I think with our preferences, they're all hitting all the key points. I think we can still come up with the top 5.
Like Scotty, you're going to say motor, right? It's going to be in your top 5.
He's audio people don't give a crap about that.
No.
Right?
No, if you're doing, let's say you're doing a big stereo.
Right.
What you're looking
Right,
for
audio.
is airspace. You're looking. It doesn't matter because you are going to shake the bejesus out of the car.
Right.
You're going to break interior. You're going to break windows. You're going to vibrate everything. So, could care less about all. What you're looking for is airspace and room in the engine
Right.
to add alternators and power and all this other good jazz.
Right.
Good point.
So the top 5
Well,
going
then
to be.
I don't think it
on-
needs to be a generic top 5. But how about this? How about in this group, betwixt us? Let's come up
Betwixt.
with.
The top 5 for 90% of people looking for a project car.
Let's do a lifted, lowered, and confused top 5. This
Yes.
is lifted, lowered, and confused top 5. I think that list should compile one of the things be the frame. We'll start there. And I've gone over the key points on the frame.
Well, there's 5 of us here, so
So that's where I'm at. We'll start with frame
Your
because I'm the
frame.
fabricator
Where you-
too. So we'll hit it with that.
Just because of what I said earlier, it's going to be the interior. If the interior's been taken care
And
of.
I liked that.
The whole car's
that's
been taken
interesting.
care of.
That's interesting. That
was my grandfather told me that.
that's interesting
He
though.
goes, you always look at that.
And I wouldn't have learned that
If you
without you
take
saying that.
pride on where you're sitting, you're going to take pride in the entire car.
there you go.
Guaranteed.
What's your top 5?
I don't know. It kind of goes with his rust, man. Rust is garbage.
Rust.
Absolutely.
No
That
rust.
cancer,
Rust
'cause-
free.
Yeah.
Okay, so body then, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we've got frame, we've got interior, we've got
Your
body.
body. Peyton, what's your bugaboo, baby? What you looking for?
We're gonna have to agree with my dad on interior. So
Interior, okay.
step in and it smells like cigarettes or mold. That's
Yeah, no, that's
yeah.
I mean that, like
Okay.
father like son, man,
Yeah.
and like father like son. I mean,
Yeah.
all right. So we still on 3.
That was
I think or was that?
That was 4.
Well, that's
said the same thing I
It's the
said,
same
so
same
3.
thing though.
Oh, that's
So I think another one that would be good on the list would be background history, Carfax.
check the Carfax.
I think that should.
100% check the Carfax.
So there's 4 right there.
There's 4.
Check your history, check your body. And that's, again, rust, rot, that's visible. Take a magnet, get under the car frame, that's 3.
Yep.
4 is the
And that-
interior.
interior with the water damage because
Yeah.
like with
Everything.
wiring and everything these
Yeah.
days.
Get down,
That's-
close
another
to
thing.
the carpet. Smell the carpet almost, and see if you can
Well-
smell mildew and mold.
Yeah, get on your back, crawl underneath, and look at everything. Like
Ain't none of us crawling on our backs. Peyton,
I
maybe.
did. I did when we went to pick up
Is
his
there a video?
Cadillac.
Please tell me there's a video of that. Please tell me there's a video.
If a
of that.
car literally smells like
there's
it came
not.
out of a French brothel,
Yeah. Run.
I'll take 2.
then they might. if it smells like it came out of a French brothel, they're maybe, possibly, most likely trying to hide a scent of some sort.
Yeah. 100%.
So we got 4 on the list. What should the 5th one be?
I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna tell you again, and again and again, to make sure what you're buying is what you're buying. Double check those VINs. Double check those titles. Make sure the guy that's selling it to you is on the title, because if he's not, guess what? It's a flip car. I'm
Surprise!
telling you,
See that? We can delve down all kinds of rabbit holes. Like
we really
You
can.
For
really
me,
can. But
wiring,
these are this is the meat and potato of looking at a car.
electrical, wiring. I've had so many Lincolns, unfortunately, like my 70s. The wiring was atrocious. If you buy a car and it has any kind of aftermarket head unit or stereo system or lighting, the LED lighting,
Yep.
if you don't do that right, it causes all kinds of hell. So
Right.
make sure your wiring is squared away.
We can put that as drivability / functionality.
because
The engine turns on, it operates, and everything's working. Your brake lights.
What we,
you know.
what wire did we pull, or what we took a fuse out of yours, or put a fuse in it
Oh,
for
my
your
God.
radio, and it turned on the dome light? What was that?
It's
We sent power directly into the head unit, and then the dome lights came on.
Yeah, that's an issue. Like,
Yeah. You definitely. got
That's an
something
issue.
crossed
however, the truck. I will say this: the truck came exactly as described
yeah, absolutely.
to the T. And let's not get it twisted. He got an amazing buy, very fair to the seller, very fair to the purchaser. But there were some things that need to be gone over, and it met everything that was said on the verbal ad.
Was it your Acura? We pulled the stereo out, and it was held together with the
The
house
wire nuts.
house wire nuts.
Oh, I
think so.
love those.
Like we pulled
Love
we
those.
pulled the head unit out, and it was literally 10 or 12 house nuts, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like we spent 3 days putting the stereo in there, just having to redo everything in it. You know.
That's crazy. That is 100%
I hated
crazy.
taking apart that dashboard. It was
That's bananas.
Silver lining, it was connected to a ballast. We ran a nice fluorescent.
That car, we got that car for 12. It was an auction car. We got it for $1,200, and it ran and it drove. It did what it was supposed to
It
do.
did everything it needed to do for a first-time driver.
And you guys, what, 2-3 years with that thing?
like that, yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
We ended up fixing a lot of stuff on it.
But that's the thing.
Did a
though.
lot of stuff.
You bought it directly from the auction. You
Correct.
didn't buy it from someone who bought it cheap at an auction, put lipstick on the pig, and then upcharged you for it.
Yeah, no.
Right, you knew what you were getting
You
into.
knew what you're getting.
Like going into Taco Bell. Don't judge me. I know what I'm doing.
You already know what this is.
That's it.
Exactly.
So I think that's going to be the LLC's top 5. You got body,
Yeah.
you got frame, you got interior, you got drivability, functionality, all the running components and then your background. There's your 5th. Your homework, Carfax, whatever you can dig up. There's your top 5 from lifted, lowered, and cube fused right there, man. And I think that's what
Cube fuse.
Fuse.
I said: lifted, lowered, and confused.
No, you didn't.
You did. You tried to say it.
Okay.
You said
Just
cube,
embrace it,
cube
buddy.
Fused.
I can't say. What
Were you confused?
What could I
Well,
was
perfect.
earlier. What was the word I couldn't say?
good.
I don't even remember.
Oh,
That was a Roadmaster statement.
legitimate or
Legitimacy.
legitimacy? The
I can
legitimacy.
say it now. See?
I said
Oh
it
my God.
fluently,
I
and
thought you were talking
now
about the other word that I can't say.
that was it. See, I used up all my powers there with legitimacy, and then went confused.
You didn't even get that far. You said cube fused.
Yeah,
Two
so
words.
cube fuse. So from the LLCF,
You can do this.
that is your top 5 lifted, lowered, and cube fuse.
Our top 800 list.
And again, as Trent said, there is so many rabbit holes you could jump down, so many different avenues you could be looking at specifically for what you're going to do to the vehicle, be it
There
car,
really is.
truck, it doesn't
There really
matter.
is.
But I think those are like the main things that should be addressed.
No.
Sellers. Let's talk about sellers real quick.
Yeah.
What do you prefer for a seller? Like, you want an old guy that's like an old motorhead? You get a young car. You obviously get somebody like a 22, 23-year-old. That car is going to be beat to all kinds of
Yeah.
nonsense. So what are you looking for in a seller?
Not a shop owner.
Mine was pretty funny. It was an old lady that was cussing.
She was a funny lady. She was
Right?
a funny lady.
Like,
That's-
Frank,
that's it,
open
man.
the trunk. And then Frank opened the trunk. She goes, see, isn't that a big-ass trunk? Dude,
Yeah.
she was like 90.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Dude,
I'd
she
say
was so, like, so honest. Like,
Yeah.
yellow house with flowers everywhere. Total,
yeah.
like, a grandma in the dictionary. That
Listen,
Yeah.
she came through the depression, man. She's
That's what I was saying, bro.
you already know.
For me, it's all about how the ad's written, right? Because you can tell when somebody's cheeseballing it up. Like the guy, for example, the guy that I bought my Brown Town car from wasn't a super old guy, but he was probably in his 40s.
It's not old at all.
That's not all, dude. We're
It's not, old at all.
Step back up. Hold up. Wait a minute.
in it.
Not a super old guy somewhere in his what?
He said
40s.
40s, bro.
Listen, I'm young at heart.
I'm going to slap that cookie right out of your
offend
mustache. bro.
everybody. Why don't you?
choose your words a little bit better.
Listen, he wasn't an old guy. He was in his 40s.
Much better.
Perfect.
And the description was basic but to the point.
I hope Chico eats your shoes tonight.
I want to hit him right now. I'm not even gonna lie.
The description was basic and to the point. And when I met the guy, he was just a cool guy. He moved from California. Literally told me the history of the car.
Why wouldn't he be cool? He's young.
And from Cali.
We're not young, but not old either.
And he was cool, man. And I told him my plans with the car to make it a lowrider, this and that. And he was like, "Oh man, that's awesome. Send me some pictures. I see him all the time when I was in California." I sent him one picture, and then unfortunately, it got taken from me.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We all do,
Yeah,
except for one person, one that was driving the other car.
yeah. No, he was. Yeah.
You can
Thankfully,
still,
the police beat him up a little bit.
you can
so
still see a
didn't
piece
feel
of
bad.
that old car.
That's
I
true.
still have
see
the
it.
remnants.
I see it right now.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Looks over there, trunk's on fire. I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm sorry, baby.
I told you it was jinxed. I told you it was
Get the
jinxed.
extinguisher
curse.
behind you.
I don't know, man. I've had
You
I've
say
had,
it. No luck. No luck. Just say it.
I've had no luck with town cars.
Zero.
Zero, and I
Zero.
bought another one. Like
Listen,
an
the
idiot.
first step is the hardest step, is just admitting.
Listen, I understand that. I don't know why I bought another one, but I did.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah,
I was just
it's-
gonna say
you're
it.
right. You're right. They've
On
got
point.
me. It's not the town car's fault. Surely it's
Thank you,
not.
sir. May I have another?
But I've probably had better luck with older sellers than I have younger sellers.
Yeah.
But
God, the
Well,
amount of
well, hold
PTSD in your eyes right now. Is
How old
just-
was the seller of the glass house? Is he in his 40s? He's an old guy.
Oh, the things.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I would say he's a younger
fella?
lad.
Younger 40s?
Younger lad.
40s?
A younger
Okay.
hep cat.
Listen, the guy I bought my white town car from was an old dude, 70s, old fella.
Now, to me, I think that's a guy that's going to take care of that car because
Right.
he's so old. He needs it to function. He's
Right.
going to do maintenance on it regularly. He's going to keep everything in check.
That car.
Yeah.
That car had the traditional 90s white town car paint issues. Other than that, it was great. Interior was good. To your credit, interior was great. And it ran second best running town car. That brown one was the best running town car I've ever had. But it was a great car. My Blazer, younger folks had it. Beat the crap out of it. Had to replace an engine in it. Had to replace a transmission in it. It was just beat. I had to put a whole new interior in it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was a gross car. But like I said, budget versus reality. At the time, what can you buy? What can you afford? What can you do? Okay. So
You have,
Actually,
to
how I
kinda,
bought
you,
my
have,
Isuzu.
you have to kind of look at what's going to get you to your goal fastest.
yeah, my Regal, young cat, kind of had some issues.
Yeah.
You know.
We addressed everything,
Yeah.
minus the engine. That was the last thing, and then you ended
Yep.
up selling it anyways before that.
Yeah. So
We did
That's-
everything to that
it's
car.
I get I don't have I guess I don't really have a preference, but I have had better luck.
That's like you get to these 70, 80-year-old dudes,
Yeah.
and unless they collect stuff like the guy I got the Buick from, that's their car. That's what they can afford. They can't afford. They're on a fixed income.
Collects
most of
cars
the
like
time.
Matchbox. God almighty.
Yeah, some nice stuff. But you get a like a normal older person. They're on fixed income. They need that car to be reliable, so they take damn good care of it because they can't afford another car payment. So they have to keep this one in tip-top shape.
Plus, it's just that generation.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
They
with
take
it.
a little bit of pride
Why
in
am I
their
going to
stuff.
buy another
That's
one?
it.
So
That's the every 3,000 mile generation.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, to this day, it's been instilled in me. I have a hard time listening to the computer on my car or my wife's cars because they're newer, tell me when to do an oil change because it'll be 5,000-6,000 miles.
You get one of these old heads, and it's, the kids and everything. Why don't you get a new car, Mom? Why don't you get a new car, Dad? What's wrong with that one? It works. And that's the mindset they have, and it's taken care of, and everything is operational. It works. It's maintained regularly.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to get. Case in point, look at my Cadillac.
No.
Who was the last owner? The daughter, who started it every few weeks for a few years, of the second owner who had it for the majority of its life, who died in his he had passed away in his 80s. He was an old war general, and you could tell that thing was, for the most part, he was very meticulous about that vehicle.
Yeah, you got pages of
That's the second. By the way,
Maintenance.
that's the second vehicle I bought from an old head that came with a binder.
The
That came with a binder.
The Buick has a binder of all the maintenance that was
Every
done.
service, every part,
My turbo
every
body, too.
anything that came with it.
body's got
And
it.
again, that's an old head thing, man.
Yeah.
And the
Again,
Cadillac.
that's the fixed income. I need this car to run. This is the only thing I can afford.
But also take a look at what I've done to it in case somebody or a mechanic needs to reference back.
Yeah.
So that's what that came with, and you could tell it just unfortunately had been sitting for the last 3 or so years.
Yeah.
He had passed away about 3 years prior. But up to that point, we had Carfax, we had information, and the car itself showed that he took care of it. Old Bill with his Cadillac.
I'll say this: my dad is not really a car guy, right?
No.
But if there's one thing that he's instilled, probably one of the best things that I learned from my dad. Thanks, pops. Was
Not just how to blow glass.
he religiously maintained his cars. My dad's Toyota van went 200,
Oh, my
200
God.
plus thousand
Yeah.
miles before.
Was that the one with the
before-
real long windshield?
Yeah, like no flat nose.
Yeah, real weird looking.
Yeah, lady pulled out in front of me, totaled that one on him. Then my dad had a Mitsubishi Montero. Okay, that car had 100.
That's an oddball.
Those are not good cars.
They're
So if he
not.
kept that running,
He had that car almost to 200,000 miles before I talked him into trading it for a Captiva.
that's a miracle.
Exactly.
You probably begged him to
I'm-
daddy trade
I'm
it.
telling you. Now he's got this Captiva, and it's got the what's in the Equinoxes, the 2.4 at that time, and they have an oil consumption issue where the piston rings go out and they consume oil. And his kind of has that issue,
Seems to run in the family.
but he keeps up with it. No, that's a GM. That's a GM issue.
Yeah, that's
Poppy
a
checks his
general-
oil.
Yeah,
He does religiously. He's still
Will checks it.
That
Gotta add some
car-
oil.
that car.
he didn't teach
Still
you
has that car. He still has that car. That car is still running, even with the oil consumption issue. My dad drives that car to like New Jersey and back, or Vermont, wherever my niece is, to pick her up every now and again. Runs like a top.
Yes, all that
Or
maintenance.
just runs and he just turns the music up.
Runs great. Runs great. That's probably the coolest thing that my pops has instilled in me is maintenance is key.
Absolutely.
Mine did the same. He was Air Force man, so
Yeah. Thanks, Dad.
likewise. Thanks, Pop.
You paying attention? You paying attention? Jesus.
Yeah, thank you, Pappy.
That's what. When? How old were you when I taught you how to change oil?
Like 13.
12, 13.
Say thanks.
And they're changing oil, changing tires. You know how many people your age can't?
How many people your age have ever, even
So-
know where to find a motor mount, let alone change it?
Yeah.
Quick addition to that story. My dad had me changing out rear brake drums when I was 14. Like he did one side, and he goes, "See what I just did? Go do it on the other side."
Yeah.
Dad, you're putting all of our lives in the hand of a 14-year-old.
He did it though. He did it, and he sat there and watched me while I did it.
As soon as you went to bed, he went out, took it off, changed all the springs around.
Yeah. And it's
I
fun.
had
It's
the
funny
adjusters
because
backwards. And
I look back and I think of all these cars that I've had, and I look back at my pops, and he's had 3 cars
yeah.
in the 38 years I've
Got a
been
million
alive.
miles out of those 3 cars.
Yeah, like
Golly.
they had a little Honda Accord, an 80-something Honda Accord up north when I was a little kid, but we didn't bring that one because the snow just ate it. It was just super
But
rusty.
the motor's still fantastic in it, wherever it is.
wherever it is, it's probably still running strong.
No oil having engine, just still
Tick,
running.
tick, tick.
But yeah, those legitimately are the only. He had another Toyota van. I take that back. That we drove down here when we moved to Florida. That he traded for the other Toyota van that he had 200,000+ miles on. And I don't know how many miles that other van had on it, but probably real similar.
Yeah.
And he only traded that, I think, because it was from Massachusetts and it was rusty and it was.
Touching back on the whole thing with your son, you taught him how to change the oil. I like how he went from changing oil, and then he comes over here and it's like, all right, you're ready for the advanced class. And then instantly we got him changing motor mounts. Here's a pump. You need to pull this fitting out. You need to replace the key. And he's like, oh, okay. And just like right into like, I mean,
But he did it.
we'll supervise, but for the most part, we're going to explain, and it's up to you. And let him struggle for a bit and let him figure it out. And that's why he's done so many things that, God, most people his age nowadays won't even have ever done it. And he's already got so many things under his belt at 19 now.
That's it.
God, you're in for so much more. You're in so much trouble.
Vegas is 3 months away.
Yep.
It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah,
It's gonna
it
be a
is.
good time. I'm
Oh.
excited.
Speaking of which, tomorrow's the 1st, yeah?
Yes.
As of tomorrow, we should be able to order our tickets for the Peterson. So I'll have to get a head count of who all's going and wrangle up some cash.
Yep. I'll
It's
let
going to
you handle
be
that
about
over again.
$40 a piece if we do the vault tour again.
Well
which
worth.
We're doing the vault tour.
Come on.
I was gonna say if you go there, don't
Well, if
Spend the
if-
40
yeah.
bones
if
and just go to the
if
vault,
the Gypsy
man.
Rose is there, I'm sure that's where it's gonna be.
I
Yeah.
sent you that one link. I don't know if anybody watched it on the group chat, but there was.
I did, where they pulled El Rey out
Yeah.
and they took it to a show again.
Yep.
So
El
But
Rey.
I think it's
I
gone.
think and the
it's,
other
I
one.
think it's.
they took the other one out too?
Yeah.
I think so, but I know El Rey is. I don't know if it's gone or if it's just borrowed from the Peterson. At the
No, the
moment.
video showed the dude. We put it on here for a year or two.
It was in
Now
there.
we
For,
took
it was in there
back.
for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, now we took it back and we're going back on tour again.
Okay, so then there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
unfortunately,
Yeah. I've seen the show pictures of it out and about.
now whether we see Gypsy Rose again or not,
If El Rey's
still,
out,
the vault
it'd be
is
cool if
where.
it was out in Vegas.
Yeah. I'm sure it might be.
Whether we
More than likely
see
will be.
whether we see Gypsy Rose and the rest of them or not, the vault.
Gypsy will still be. Gypsy's never coming out of there.
No,
You don't think?
No.
or at least not for a while. I remember
No.
where was it in Washington? They
The-
had it in a glass case for a while.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dude.
It made a tour in a glass case.
Yeah,
The owner
Oh,
passed away, and the
5 years
family
ago.
gave it to the Peterson. Like that, it will not be coming out of there. That's where the Gypsy Rose will be
Oh,
for
good.
the
Then
remainder.
we'll get to see
Good.
it
At
again.
least everybody will see that. I'll see that again. I'll be happy
Yeah.
as hell. And there's so many other cars in there. So many rare birds in there to see in the vault.
I got one more car I want to see.
Go ahead.
What was that?
The Mach 1.
Like
Or,
The speed racer car.
speed racer
Speed
car,
racer.
right? Yeah.
is that the Mach 5?
It's,
It's Mach 5.
Mach 5, my bad.
Mach 1's a Mustang.
Yeah. I meant the Mach
God,
5.
so what do we
I don't know
see?
how
at
you
the
want a
Peterson? We
Mustang,
saw
man.
so many.
There's a lot.
We saw an
Just as a
original
little kid, that was like my
car
first anime.
from. We saw an original car from Back to the Future. We saw the latest
the DeLorean? The
Ghostbusters.
DeLorean, yeah.
We saw the latest Ghostbusters. We saw,
Nope.
I think, a large majority of the
couple of the Fast and Furious cars.
couple Fast and Furious cars. We saw a large majority of was it not Mission Impossible?
James Bond.
James
cars.
Bond.
They had, all,
They had an
Bond.
entire floor
Yeah.
for
They
the
had an
James Bond.
entire-
Bond section.
Say that again. An entire floor,
Ah,
Dedicated to
including
Bond.
like
But
backdrops and everything.
that floor changes apparently. Like it was Bond when we were there. It's probably going to be something completely different this year.
It's crazy. $100,000+ Aston Martins, just
Oh.
bullet holes and airbags
Destroyed.
blowing off in them. Oh,
Oh, you're going to promote our car? Cool. We need to roll it 6 times. All right, there you go. All right. Ooh.
it'll be
Yeah.
fun. I'm
It will
excited.
be fun.
Listen, I'm excited to see it again and even seeing the same things I've already seen. Like that, I would, if I'm ever going out that way, I don't care if it's once a year. If it was once a year, I'm out in that area, I would buy a Peterson ticket every
Yeah,
damn time.
absolutely.
Every damn time I would go. It's a
Because
beautiful
it's
thing.
cool because they keep, for those that don't know,
Keep it fresh.
It's got like 3 or 4 floors, and then you have the vault. The vault is an extra,
Yeah, 3
I
floors.
think
and then the vault.
$25, right? But periodically, like you said, you have the entire floor of James Bond. They will take vehicles out of the vault and put them on display up top.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. They change it up quite a bit and do a lot of
And
cool
the
stuff.
vault, the vault
think that's
is
why
a
that
lot
place
of the
is so successful.
personal
Yeah.
owners' cars
It is.
or owners' personal cars.
And they're constantly
big
getting
name
new
shops.
vehicles in and out. So.
Some big name shops have some cars down there. But that's why I think that's why it's like standing the test of time and just still so very current. It's not like this relic you need to go see of the Peterson. It's just so very current because they keep it very current
They do.
and they don't mess around either. There's a lot of people that work there walking around. If you have questions,
Yeah, very knowledgeable.
if they're on that floor, odds are they have knowledge of that floor and they'll give you kind of like a verbal tour of car or cars that you ask about. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we can get
I
the.
remember that they were telling us about that one car in the vault that had the big circle door.
It's a round. That's the Rolls. I believe it was a Rolls Royce. It's a
It was-
round.
I can't even
The round.
remember
There
what
was
it
a
was.
round.
It was a round door.
Just a round. It's called the round door.
Big window.
We'll have to look it up.
It was
but
just. It was such
talk about a massive car, by
It
the
was
way.
huge.
Long and tall.
Yeah.
But you got to remember too. Those are here's where it hit me and it hit my heart. It's all hand built from stem to stern. It is hand formed. Not hey, we slipped it in a press and boom, boom, here's a door. It's all hand formed. That's what's
No, that was cool.
amazing.
That was
about
one of the
that.
coolest cars there.
God, I would have
Aside-
gave anything to sit in it.
Aside from the Gypsy Rose, that was probably the coolest car there.
And we did like a 20-minute photo shoot with the Gypsy. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
we were in there for a hot minute.
Let's be honest, dude. I just didn't want to leave the room.
You guys allegedly touched it.
There's no allegedly. I touched it.
Allegedly.
There's no allegedly. I touched it and I looked at my son. I said,
I
"You get your
molested
ass
the
over there." And you
Jesus out of the Gypsy
looked
Rose.
at your son. You said, "You get your ass over there and you touch that car." He went, "Okay."
It was not consensual. Not at all.
Oh man.
Not many. Listen, not many
Anyway.
people can say in this world that they've been within breath distance of Gypsy Rose, let alone just grazed the back quarter of the old car. Man,
That's
it's
it.
just oh,
It did get touched.
accidentally. We all kind of tripped and
Allegedly.
bumped into it.
Allegedly. Anyway, on that note, I'll leave you with this tidbit of information. Buyer beware, and we'll catch you on the next one.